Hi, TJ Kissane, Vice President of Franchise Development with Franchise Fastlane, and I'm the Brand Director for Monster Tree Service. I'm here today with our founder and CEO, Josh Skolnick, and we thought it would be a great idea to just jump on the phone here, do a little Q&A session on kind of what is going on with Monster Tree Service in light of the current economic situation we're in, along with COVID-19. So I appreciate Josh taking the time to join us today. How's everything up there in Doylestown going, Josh?
It's wonderful, TJ. I appreciate you taking the time so we can do this together.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, let's just go ahead and jump right on into it. You know, one thing that I've really been focusing on in our process with our candidates and consultants and helping everybody understand just the recession-resistant kind of nature that Monster Tree has. Could you maybe talk a little bit, Josh, about the first location there in Doylestown that you started? I know you kicked off in about 2009, 10, right in the heart of that last recession. So kind of help everybody understand what was that really like?
Yeah, TJ, I think it's a great starting point. With all the success we've seen over the years, a lot of people forget those humble beginnings. And a big thing that a lot of people overlook is I launched this business in June of 2008 with no prior industry experience. And we all know what was happening in the economy at that point and the housing market crash. And so while everyone around me was advising me to invest in other areas, I continued to plow through. Launched the business, as I said, in June of 2008, and grew the business in the first 12 months to do well over $1 million in annual revenue, and grew at a very rapid pace over those following subsequent 3 to 4 years. And then obviously launched a franchise division in 2013, and we've experienced a growth over the years.
Awesome. And I always love that story at the very beginning. That was just the one single location in Doylestown, not any of the national pricing or relationships or advantages that the owners are going to have today if we hit a little bit of an economic, tightening spot. So perfect. Well, so speaking of the Doylestown location, Josh, let's kind of up from where you started to where we are today. What have you guys kind of seen recently in the last, 2-3 weeks or so since this COVID-19's really kind of hit strongly? What's that kind of been like for you in your local Doylestown location?
Yeah, so initially, just like a lot of the rest of the world, a lot of unknowns. I would say the first week of this pandemic was probably the most hectic as everyone's trying to navigate, what's going on, how bad is this, how are we all going to be impacted? Several governors across states. I'm here locally in Pennsylvania, and our Governor Wolf put a shelter in place down pretty early on, and I live in a county right next to where the hardest hit parts of Pennsylvania are, not far from New York here in Bucks County. So with that being said, the first week was a lot of uncertainty, but one of the biggest things that I had in my court that really helped the organization as a whole is launching the business in '08 in the last big economic recession that we went through. I was very well prepared and knew exactly what would happen, and knew that getting into a business initially when the economy was in a downturn in the service space, that we would probably see a dip initially in leads because of uncertainty from the client's perspective, whether or not they would have jobs going through this. We obviously heard everything in the media about unemployment rates going to go through the roof, and we've seen record unemployment here. But at the end of the day, we've definitely seen about a 25% decrease in leads. But what I'll tell you is it's actually working in our favor, because the 75% of the leads that we're still receiving are buyers. And these are people that they don't want to invite a lot of people out to their property. They want to do business with a company that has an easy transaction. So we're contactless appointments. And fortunately, we've been very advanced and cutting edge in the industry that's very fragmented to make sure that we have things in place so that we don't necessarily need to have direct interaction or contact with our customers. Everything's been done electronically out of our organization for the last 5 to 6 years. We've basically dropped all paper, all the way around the board. Fortunately, as we know, a lot of our clientele has the ability to work remotely. So as people understand that they're not losing their jobs, there's other financial relief that's out there for them as individuals, whether it be loan deferments, mortgage deferral payments, and things of that nature. It's been really good. But I will say, TJ, one of the things that I learned from launching a business in 2008 is while everyone else is running scared and looking for ways to cut back, we've doubled down. So my first call when this all came out was directly to one of our vendors that does a lot of digital marketing. And we actually increased our biweekly budget by $20,000 for our corporate location, because we recognize that we need to to, we need to really be able to target people through social media, as well as other channels such as, Google, Yahoo, Bing, with all of their paid advertising, and many other areas that we're utilizing digital marketing to retarget people, running a lot of banner ads through things like CNN, local weather channels, and all the local news outlets here within at least the Bucksmont area for our corporate location. So we're seeing definitely growth in our organization, and system-wide, we're experiencing a lot of the same stuff.
Man, that is just great, Josh. And that's what I've always enjoyed working with you, is you're an aggressive guy, and that you don't shy down. And I love the idea of doubling up in a time like this. I think, we all can realize that the people that are able to take advantage of this marketplace, this opportunities, the lower lending, some of those items, that they always come out on a better end on the back end. And, it's so interesting what you mentioned in there about the lead flow, maybe being down 25%, but maybe those are just kind of the tire kickers, the guys that are coming out to get pricing, that you're really just getting the core customers that are really ready to take action. So I'm sure that's making the business a lot more efficient. So that's great.
Absolutely.
So let's kind of branch out from just the Doylestown location. I know you mentioned there right at the end about the rest of the country. So I know Monster Tree does fall under essential services. So kind of help us understand, what are you guys hearing from the owners? Are any of them shut down? Is everybody still operating? What are the guys telling you about the markets across the country?
Yeah, so TJ, as I said earlier, one of the things that we saw very early on in the first week of the pandemic was a lot of, just fear. People weren't sure whether or not they were going to be considered an essential business or a non-essential business. And so we worked not only with industry organizations within the tree care and landscaping industry to make sure that we were working with them to get letters draft to share with, state representatives and local and national state representatives, to be able to really just drive home the fact and the necessity of the services that we provide to keep people safe, especially while they're home in these times. So our team jumped right into play. As you know, in 2008, we really shifted our support focus on the franchisees to move as many people out of our corporate office and start to station people across the country. And so we've got ops partners located within an 8-hour drive across the country to every single one of our franchise locations. And so between our operations team and the rest of our senior leadership team, we immediately jumped in with all of the franchisees. And so the directive from myself and my director of operations to our ops partners that work in that department is to have contact Monday, Wednesday, and Friday with every single franchisee for a minimum of 15 minutes to understand what's going on in their business, and then where do they need all hands on deck from us to help them moving. So at this point, we've got everybody through, and 100% of our franchisees are currently operating business as usual. Obviously, with some heightened guidelines, we're following OSHA and CDC guidelines to make sure that we are providing a safe work practice. But really, at the end of the day, TJ, by taking a proactive approach as opposed to, sitting back, waiting, and being reactive, really helped to keep everybody going with very little bumps in the road. And so I will say that some parts of the country which are less affected, the franchisees haven't seen an impact, but that's going to be about 30 to 40% of the overall community. But we're still not taking a backseat approach, because we realize there's still a lot of unknowns around the COVID-19, and it's just a matter of time, in my opinion, until the virus catches up to some of those communities that have been less hit. And hopefully, with a lot of the social distancing guidelines that have been put out there, it's going to absolutely flatten the curve, as everybody keeps talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. And for those owners that haven't been affected yet, as those guys start to feel that push, I mean, how great to have a community like the other franchisees and you guys up at the corporate office. I know that Monster Tree has always done a great job of sharing that information, and the owners talk regularly. So I know some of the guys that are in the rougher spots now are going to jump in and help those other guys as they start to experience those issues. So,
and I believe, TJ, in these types of times, I mean, these are when real leaders shine. And, this is when, those strong individuals that know how to navigate an organization through, uncertain times. And you keep hearing that word unprecedented times. And I try to avoid using it myself, because I just feel it scares people. But we've done other things beyond what I've already said. I mean, we're hosting town halls every Tuesday and Friday. And, that's it. That's about a 60-minute call, 45 to 60 minutes. We get on, and, I'm providing a big update. Our finance department's providing getting updates on the funding that franchisees need to be looking into and the economic relief loans and things of that nature. So being that we're an essential business and continuing to work, there's a lot of big benefits that are actually going to benefit our franchisees because, they're still going to get access to economic relief and, they're not needing to lay their people off now. So part of this funding that's coming on the backside is actually going to be an infusion of capital into their business. So our recruiting department on that side of the house, they're seeing record number of applicants right now. Obviously unemployment is rising and, recruiting has, been something that we've assisted our franchisees with for the last 3 to 4 years, but we're seeing record number of applicants, which is just fantastic. So being that we're pivoting and, doubling down on marketing, we've got the equipment availability and we've got the personnel availability to just really continue to grow and really excited to see what happens on the backside of this and how our franchisees, revenue numbers are just, increased and, really, looking forward to being able to share with everybody in franchising and those candidates we're going to work with, the unit level growth 2020 over 2019 in the wake of COVID-19.
Yep, absolutely. No, I totally agree with you. I think as we come out on the other side of this, there's going to be a consumer focus to support local, and that is what's the beauty of being in a franchise business. All of our franchisees are local owners involved in their community, but are supported by a national brand during these more kind of difficult times or difficult challenges. So I think the owners are going to really benefit locally when consumers really kick it back into high gear, and especially the fact, like you mentioned, that labor force. I mean, I just went through 6-7 months of answering the questions of, what do we do in a really tight labor market? And I think now because of this, we're going to be on the opposite end where, like you mentioned, there's that influx of labor, more leads on that employee side than we've seen before. So I definitely think, if anything, we are gearing up to just jump all over this economy once we're on the other side of this. What do you think? Sound good, Josh?
I do, and I agree, and I will add, TJ, just in conversations that I've been listening in on through new franchisees going through onboarding, those people that have signed on in the last 60 days, and let's just call it, in this calendar year. It's exciting to see the passion in their voice and just, how excited they are to still be launching their business over the course of the next 60 to 90 days and just how positive they are. So I will say a lot of great things are happening. I had a conversation, believe it or not, today with a franchisee that launches in the first week of June. And he says, man, we already found my entire staff and I'm just super excited to get going. And so it's good times. I mean, we're obviously being very vigilant, but proceeding in a very, cautious way in certain degrees, but being very aggressive at the same time.
Yep, absolutely. I think that is the best way to put it, that cautious aggressiveness. I think that describes the attitude and what we've heard from the Monster Tree owners. And, validation for everybody that's listening to this video that's still in the process. We're still holding those 3 calls a week. Get on there on Tuesdays and Thursdays and hear from our franchise owners that are out there in the marketplaces. They will give you an idea of what they're experiencing and more so, like Josh is talking about, how they're gearing up for the growth to take advantage of this marketplace. Now we're going to go ahead and kind of wrap up the video today, but before we do, one last thing we want to talk about, and I know that me and Josh have had a lot of discussions about this, is how are we going to help assist candidates that are in the process right now that are ready to move forward and make the decision, but are a little uncertain about what's going on with the economy and the times. So what our message has been to our candidates is go through the discovery process. This is the right time to learn about the business. You're at home. You have maybe a little bit more spare time. So jump in, get on those validation calls, watch these videos. We'll put out a few more of them as we go here. Follow up with the content and decide if Monster Tree is the right fit. Now, if Monster Tree is the right fit for you, we're going to be hosting virtual discovery days over these next several months. So you'll have the same experience as you would coming to Doylestown. Now, after discovery day, if you're ready to move forward, we're going to look for you to lock down the territory. Now, once the territory is locked down, Monster Tree has a great agreement with their vendors that all of the equipment and everything is pay upon delivery, not pay upon ordering. So you're still able to order the equipment. You're still able to continue through onboarding. Usually takes us about 90 to 120 days to launch the business anyways. So we fast forward 90, 120 days, you're probably going to be in regular operation anyways. But even if there's a little bit extra holdup, what Josh has agreed to do is not start your 10-year agreement terms until you launch production. So if it takes, let's say, 6 months in a worst case, you will start the business in 6 months and have 10 years from that date on the agreement. So you're not going to lose time off the franchise agreement because of COVID-19. So we want to make the process easy. We want to make you part of the family. And if you know Monster Tree is the right fit for you, I can tell you Josh is going to be the owner who's going to help you make the right decision and come on board when it's the right time. So Josh, as we wrap up here, any other final thoughts, anything you want to leave our candidates in the pipeline with?
TJ, you hit the nail on the head. Remain confident, continue through the process. You'll really see loud and clear as you work through our team that, we are working to, make sure that, this is something that coming out the back end of this that is going to be pretty well forgotten, in our business within 30 to 60 days following it. We're extremely excited with what the future holds. We're seeing lead flow obviously continuing to increase. All of our vendors are all hands on deck as well, and right behind us, with plenty of inventory to support our franchisees, and just really looking forward to the opportunity to work with many of you and share what we have to help you with the opportunity at business ownership. So look forward to hearing from you on one of my leadership calls that I host on Wednesday evenings every few weeks, and learning more about you and sharing more about my story and more of what we're doing as we continue to navigate in uncertain economy right now that none of us have been through in our lifetime. So stay safe, and definitely look forward to hearing from you soon.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch the video. Josh, thank you so much for your time today. And as he said, absolutely, everybody stay safe out there.